Hello everyone, Tea and Crumpets here. My comrade Mike Barbarossa asked me to do a collaboration video here for him. We are often together on Twitter, where we reminisce about when my granduncle and his uncle used to duke it out back in the great years. My granduncle was part of the Luffenschleikenschlafen, while Mike's uncle's brigade was called the Red Devils, or some such rustic American moniker. Now the video that we will be covering today will be the curious case of Mr. Vegan Gains. Now his channel, which covers his vegan lifestyle, along with his workouts, you think would have a lot of informative information about diet and fitness for such a lifestyle. Now he does offer some examples of his diet and fitness routines.
Alright, so me and Jasmine just finished eating breakfast at Through Being Cool. We had donuts, and donuts aren't really healthy, but my body was just craving donuts. Like, I had a donut deficiency, and my body was just telling me that I needed the donuts.
Too. So that's another issue. Just a ton of stress was just being added to the shoulder each and every day as I was gaining strength. So despite that, I didn't hold back. I just kept going and going. Each progressive week, my shoulder was getting worse and worse. I knew going into the workout, my shoulder would be fucking wrecked if I tried doing dumbbell shoulder presses or lateral raises or anything serious with my shoulder. But I fucking did it anyway. That goal I had for myself. And even though I knew it was fucking stupid, even though I knew my shoulder would get really fucking seriously hurt if I did it, I still did it. And I hit that PR, but right at the very last rep, I could feel like a weird teary feeling in my shoulder. I hit the 80-pound 10 rep PR, but I hurt my shoulder really bad. We've all fucking done that. We've all just said, fuck it, I'm gonna hit this PR, I'm gonna try to go all out, even though I know I'm gonna hurt myself.
Actually, you stupid fuck, there is such a thing as overtraining. It's a very well-recognized medical condition.
And I think we don't take it seriously enough. It's self-harm. We're committing self-harm, and we know it. It's not that much different from cutting yourself.
So instead of coming to his channel to receive sound fitness and diet advice, viewers grab the popcorn and sit back and watch the TMZ-style train wreck that is his channel. Now his channel is usually filled with him screeching at his fellow meatheads about how they're doing it all wrong.
This wasn't just a careless mistake, he's retarded. Next, he starts hitching when he's trying to lock it out, and I guess C.T. Fletcher never taught his son that the deadlift ends when you get to the top, because just keeps going backwards like he's in the Matrix, and then he drops the bar like a basic bitch. It's like when a fat kid goes swimming with a t-shirt on, and they think that hides the fact that they're fat. And Bradley does the same thing. He thinks constantly wearing a hat hides the fact that he's going bald. Well, you know what? You're the one who's too lazy to read a motherfucking book. And maybe if you read a book to your son, he wouldn't have ended up retarded.
Now when he's not whinging at his fellow meatheads, he's usually giving us a glimpse into his personal psychosis.
I fucking hate children. They literally make me sick. When I see babies in a commercial, I start to gag and almost throw up, and I have to look away and mute it. And when I see babies in a stroller, especially when they're crying, I just want to put my foot through the fucking thing and step on it until it's nothing but blood and pulp on the fucking pavement.
We're committing self-harm, and we know it. It's not that much different from cutting yourself. Might not be quite as serious, but it's the same sort of thing.
Taking super long to fucking shoot, way longer than it should have. and I just completely lost my fucking shit. It was the worst it's been in a really long time. I actually started throwing crap, and just to try to calm down, not destroy the entire apartment, I just left and tried to take a long walk to calm myself down. And I calmed down a little bit, but I was just so overcome with this anger, and it was insane. It was the worst it's been in a really long time, and I tried to like focus on some of the stuff that was going around, some of the people who were walking by, some of the restaurants and stuff, just read the signs, anything to try to get my mind off this anger. Well, I came across a karate dojo studio.
Wait, I know this story. He walks into the studio and meets the great master. The master then taught him discipline and inner peace. And with the help of the teachings of his new master, he was able to overcome his anger.
And I looked in, and the instructors were these big, huge, old, fat dudes who you could tell couldn't fight for shit. The class was just a bunch of out-of-shape, weird, clumsy people who don't really know any better. And I'm no martial arts expert by any means, but I know bullshit when I see it. And these instructors were making these people do ridiculous shit. And I just focused on that, and that really cheered me up a lot. It brought my anger way down.
Oops, got that one wrong.
Hi everyone, today I just wanted to give a quick little mental health update. As some of you might know, I had a bit of a mental breakdown only a few weeks ago, hasn't been that long, and I had a bit of a panic attack. I was hallucinating, and it's primarily stress related, but I have been taking B12 injections to see maybe if it would help, maybe partly it was a B12 issue. Well, the B12 injections have been giving me more energy, and I think my mood in general has improved as a result. But I did have another bit of a mental breakdown just a few days ago. I took a few days off of YouTube just to calm down and relax and deal with it. I was seeing really bright flashes of color and patterns, and I was hearing this ton of chatter and voices inside my head.
Well, Barbarossa, I think I may have found one of the reasons for his hallucinogenic psychosis.
So just recently I had a really crazy trippy mushroom experience, and it totally changed my whole outlook on life and just how I am and who I am as a person. And I thought I'd just go through the entire trip, explain what happened and what I saw. So I took about 4 or 5 grams of mushrooms. I didn't measure it out exactly, but I know it's between 4 and 5 grams. This seems to have been a particularly potent batch. The last time I did mushrooms, I took about 7 grams, and that wasn't nearly as powerful as a trip. And the trip came on really, really quickly. I think it only took 10 minutes. Usually for me it takes anywhere from half an hour to an hour to start to feel them, but this came on really quickly. It was on in about 10 minutes, and the first part of the trip was just pure bliss. It was a lot like the first time I did mushrooms, which I did do a video on. I had no other feelings inside of me other than pleasure, and I just felt fucking fantastic. I was watching an anime movie, and I was just feeling really good. And then really strong hallucinations started to come on, and it was as if I saw pages of reality just peeling back, and I just saw like weird colors, geometric shapes. I started to get weird feelings of paranoia and anxiety, and then it started to feel like I was being tortured. And when I see babies in a stroller, especially when they're crying, I just want to put my foot through the fucking thing.
Well, I don't think there's any more that I can add to this, so I'll let my comrade Barbarossa take it from here, now that the ad hominems are complete. Okay, well, thanks for your help, Tea and Crumpets. Looks like I have my hands full with this raging moronic lunatic. Okay, we're going to get into the arguments he made when he went screeching at Bering in his response videos. Now, little Richard is making two arguments here. His first argument is that meat and animal products are bad for your health. His second argument is that with the advancements of agriculture, now that we can obtain a reasonably nutritious diet without using meat or animal products, that it is unethical and morally reprehensible to continue to do so. Okay, first we're going to look into his argument that meat is bad for your health because it contains cholesterol and saturated fat, and that this leads to clogged arteries and cardiovascular diseases.
You should know that degenerative brain diseases like Alzheimer's are caused by diets high in saturated fat and cholesterol, which are found in animal products. Saturated fat and cholesterol raises the serum cholesterol levels in your blood, which not only clogs the arteries leading to your heart, but it also clogs the arteries in your brain.
Okay, everyone, let's take a look at this indictment he's made against meat consumption. He said that brain diseases are caused by high cholesterol and high saturated fat diets, and that these are found in animal products. So this is what he does. He cites and brings up the very worst of a meat diet. So let's do this. Let's take exactly what he's done to a meat diet and apply the same principle to a vegan diet. So if we apply the same principles to a vegan diet, here's what we come up with. And what we come up with is the obesity problem. So what we're going to say is obesity is caused by a diet high in sugars and simple carbs and fat, which is found in vegan diets. So what he does, he takes all animal products, lumps them into one, shows you the very worst of these products, and he makes no distinction between eating hamburgers and sausages and healthy meat eating, which is eating fish and lean poultry, and getting the benefits of the omega-3 fatty acids and the B12. He doesn't want to let you know that a serving of rainbow trout only has 6% RDA of saturated fat. It's the typical propaganda of the feminists and the SJWs, and he wonders why he's called that. Okay, next, let's look at his claim about cancers in meat eaters and vegans.
And the largest forward-looking study on diet and cancer ever conducted found the incidence of all cancers combined was lower among vegetarians.
Well, your study shows higher incidence of colorectal cancer for vegetarians. This is because vegetarians have sacrificed the whole meat source of protein for the highly processed, tasteless goo that is tofu and textured vegetable protein. I personally have a very high risk of colorectal cancer due to family history. So tell me again how substituting fish and lean poultry whole for highly processed goo is going to be good for my health. Well, anyway, we could go on for hours about the health debate, but I'm not taking the health debate any further because every person has a personal right to be as healthy or as unhealthy as they would like to be. Everyone has a right to pursue comfort and pleasure if it's at the expense of the most optimal health lifestyle possible. In fact, being a slave to the most healthy lifestyle possible is ridiculous. So everyone has a right to make their own personal choice in regards to health. So I would like to move on to the second argument. And that argument is because we are able to obtain a healthy diet through modern agriculture without eating animal products, that it is morally wrong to continue to do so.
And you're stupid enough to compare humans to lions. You honestly think humans eat meat for the same reason as lions? So when you go to the grocery store to buy meat, you're doing it for survival? If you couldn't get lamb chops at Costco, you'd starve to death?
The difference is animals are actually being held down, being murdered.
They're not being murdered.
Yeah, Bering, let's play word games and use euphemisms to justify morally abhorrent behavior. How about I just take my gun and put you out of your fucking misery? I'm not murdering you, I'm just putting you out of your misery. That sounds much nicer, doesn't it?
Bering is right. Slaughtering an animal to render its meat is not murder, and I'll explain why.
If I can call someone killing an animal murder, he could just as easily call me having consensual sex with my wife rape. Now, the problem with this argument is it's a false analogy. If I were to claim someone murdered an animal, you would immediately understand that I meant someone killed an animal. By the strict dictionary definition of murder, murder is the unlawful, premeditated killing of a human being by another human being. But if I were to tell you someone murdered an animal, all I'm doing is removing that anthropocentric context of that word, and it's immediately understandable.
Okay, I'm going to show you the flaws in his argument and show you why killing an animal for slaughter so you can render its meat is not the same as ISIS murdering 2 captives. Now, let's go back to that dictionary definition of murder. It says murder is the unlawful killing of another person. Now, it's specific kinds of killing another person that is defined as murder. If you kill your former boss to get back at him for firing you, that's murder. A store owner is shot by a robber and he shoots back and kills him, that's not murder. So since murder is the unlawful killing of another person, what makes it unlawful? And the answer is it has to be a malicious killing. You killed the person just for the sake of seeing him killed, seeing him dead. That's malicious, that's unlawful, and that's murder. So let's look at the animal version, the so-called animal murder, and see if it's actually murder. Okay, now let's look at the man killing the cow for slaughter. Okay, for argument's sake, we're going to assume that this is the farmer who bred and raised and fed this cow. Now, why is this cow alive? Why was it bred? Why did it get bred, and why was it born? The farmer went through all of the work and money to breed the cow for the promise of its meat. The farmer then took care of the cow, fed it, and made sure it grew healthy. Why did the farmer do this? For the promise of the meat. Now at this point you have to realize, without a demand for meat, this animal never exists. Now this farmer, in his own free will, created this life. He bred it, he fed it, he took care of it, he fed it and made it grow, all for the purpose, the rendering of the meat. He's put a lot of hard work, effort, and money into getting this cow to this state. So what happens now? This cow has to meet the promise of his purpose. It's not a needless killing. He needed to kill the cow to get its meat. It was his only purpose. He's not killing the cow just to see the cow dead. He's killing the cow because he has to kill the cow to meet its purpose. So that's an incorrect example of what you could call an animal version of murder. Now you show a little bit later what would be a good example of what could be called an animal version of a murder.
Again, this is a ridiculous false analogy. Describing someone killing an animal as them murdering an animal makes perfect sense, especially given the right context, as me saying someone murdered an animal would suggest they did it with malice or perhaps without justifiable cause, whereas if I were to just say someone killed an animal, that doesn't explain whether or not it was intentional or with any kind of malice.
See there you understand that murder is malicious intent. And you showed a perfect example, putting the gun to the head of a dog who's just a pet and killing him. Shooting someone's pet dog in the head is malicious because you had no other intent but just to kill the dog. But again, I see you decided to sneak in, quote, needlessly kill. Again, the farmer killing the cow to render its meat, it's not needless. He needed to kill the cow to render the meat, to get all his hard work and investment back so he could feed his family. For the cow to serve its intended purpose, why it was born, why it was raised. It's not murder, you dumbass. But you want to whine and kvetch. Oh, he's murdering the cow. It's murder. The poor little cow. Oh, I'm so sad for the little life of the cow. That's so evil to kill the cow. It's immoral. Hey, dumb shit, without that, the cow never exists. It's his sole purpose. You need to learn what the definition of murder is, dumbass. Okay, next we're going to get into the morality issue.
It's clear what you're trying to do here. A vegan has told you that it is immoral to consume animal products, and you're trying to refute this moral argument by claiming that anyone who tells you that it is immoral to consume animal products is part of the far left wing and they're a social justice warrior extremist.
Well, little Richard, if you had even the slightest clue about philosophy, you'd know that all morality is subjective. And yet you want to act like you have absolute objective morality on this issue. Morality is nothing more than two or more people getting together with cognitive function and coming to a conclusion what they decide what actions would be best. I'll give you an example. One man goes out to the desert and burns a tumbleweed. Another man burns down an orphanage. Which man is immoral? They both just burned some dead trees and shrubs. But only one of them harmed people. One of them harmed the collective. Murder is illegal because as a self-preserving species, a species that bands together and helps each other to survive, just like any other species, we band together and make agreements to survive and thrive. This is why murder is illegal. It's a moral cooperation, and it doesn't apply to other species. Okay, next we're going to look at all the killing of animals and other living things that Mr. Vegan Gaines is okay with. This Nat Geo article shows that half of all the living creatures on the planet have disappeared in the last 40 years. Now, this was mostly caused by the overpopulation of humans on the planet, loss of habitat, pollution. These aren't farm animals that were raised for their meat. These are natural occurring animals. And this has been caused by all of us, including Mr. Little Richard Vegan Gaines. Mr. Vegan Gaines bodybuilds, weight lifts, and exercises excessively. This means he has to eat a lot more food and puts a lot bigger demand on soybean fields. Need to clear more wildlife habitat to make room for more fields. Put some more insecticide on those soybeans. Vegan Gaines enjoys all the pleasures of life. He likes to buy new big plastic petroleum-based products. He enjoys trips to Europe. Heating his Canadian home in the wintertime. All the trappings of modern life. All at the expense of wildlife. Other animal killings he's okay with. All the animals that get killed and eaten by things like lions. Hey, that's all that lion knows how to do to survive. What are you going to do? Mr. Vegan's not whining about those lives being killed. And what about the ugly dog at the pound that no one will ever adopt? Certainly Mr. Vegan Gaines is okay with euthanizing that dog. In fact, instead of adopting a rescue dog from a pound, he imported an exotic vanity dog. A dog that's part wolf.
So these are all dogs that are about to die?
Hey!
Oh.
Hey! 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 Where you been going? Hey, baby! Hey! Yeah, I know.
Oh, I almost forgot. He's okay with murdering animals so that he could feed his exotic wolf dog raw meat.
And we figured out a way to settle her stomach, and it's a combination of a very specific brand of dog food and a combination of raw meat.
Now watch the gymnastics as he tries to squirm his way out of any responsibility for the killing of those animals.
Now, neither of those things are vegan, but the thing is, if we just passed the dog on to someone else, just gave away the dog, they'd have to do the exact same thing. So even though it's not great that we have to feed her a combination of normal kibble and raw meat, being pragmatic and logical, the net difference would be zero. Somebody would be having to kill the same animals. And with the raw meat, we're also getting weird pieces of meat that can't be sold to humans. We're getting like neck bones and shit that people wouldn't eat. And so it's not like we're going to the store and buying like steaks and chicken breasts and bullshit like that. It's throwaway cuts of meat that no one would eat. We're not really contributing to the animal products industry with that.
Little Richard, I used to work at a meatpacking plant, and I know that's bullshit. There's no such thing as throwaway lean cuts of meat. But anyway, in conclusion, folks, the rest of us sane people, we have an understanding about what it's like to be the apex predator. We realize other forms of life have to suffer under us. It's just the natural way of things. But little Richard and his fellow social justice warriors want to screech and whinge about how they feel the world should be based on some flaky little utopia that they've worked up inside their heads. So I guess we're just going to always have to suffer these morons.